This video will show you how to take a preset that you've created in Handbrake and make it available as a context menu item in Windows Explorer, so that you can pull a video right off your cell phone or other dubiously configured source, and just right-click the file and transcode it in place within the same directory. This way, if you're not doing a batch conversion in Handbrake, you don't have to open it up and go through the whole interface just to transcode one single file. The nice thing about this is that it's obviously simple and fast, which to me as a newbie was surprisingly impossible to find for some reason. But also, you can tweak this and get it working perfectly in the GUI, then easily apply the preset to the command line. There's no need to go messing with command line settings. That said, you could use the Handbrake CLI command I've used in a more complex bat script that's called using the same method. That's not the route I've taken here. This is point and click simple. So the first thing you obviously have to do is set up your presets in Handbrake. You've probably already done this, and you probably already know which ones you use and what works, so I won't cover that. The only thing important here is to take note of the name of the presets that you want to use. I believe this is case sensitive, so make sure you get it exact. Then we download two tools. Handbrake's command line interface, because that's Handbrake, without having to open Handbrake. Then we'll download a tool called Default Programs Editor to make this quick and easy without having to create our own hand-typed registry key file. For Handbrake, go to Google and type in Handbrake CLI download. Bam, first hit. Make sure it's the command line program that you're downloading. Just save the zip file somewhere for now. Default Programs Editor is easy. For one, it's the first thing that comes up on Google. Or you can just go directly to defaultprogramseditor.com. Easy download, no spammy nasty stuff. Don't mistake it for the default program editor that's part of Windows. We're talking about a third-party program here. Save it, then open up the directory where you've put all this stuff. Go into the zip file for Handbrake CLI. Copy the exe and paste it wherever you've installed Handbrake to. In my case, it's in Program Files. You could technically paste this anywhere. I just prefer to keep it grouped with my main Handbrake install. Now go back and go into the zip file for Default Programs Editor. You could unzip this and save it somewhere, but if this is the only time that you plan to use it, I prefer to just run it straight from the zip file. Tell Windows to chill out, it's okay, go ahead and run it. There are several functions that you can accomplish with this program, but we're only interested in creating a context menu item, which is part of the file type settings. So click that, then select Context Menu. We'll specify that we want this context menu to be available for all MP4 files. If you have additional containers that you regularly need to transcode one at a time, repeat this process for each file extension. For now, I'll just select MP4 Video by double-clicking. This will show you the current context menu that's configured. If you right-click on an MP4 file right now, these are the context menu items you would see. We're going to add a new one and give it a name. For me, the important part of this operation is that I get a constant 24 frames per second. So I'll include that in the name of my context menu item. Now for program path, browse to the location where you left your Handbrake CLI executable. In my case, back in the Handbrake directory in Program Files. That gets you a starting point for the command that you'll need. The %1 basically means the file name of whatever item we right-clicked on to pull up this context menu. Keep that. We'll fill in some additional parameters around it. We're going to add, just behind the name of the executable, --preset -import -GUI, GUI, which will look in the GUI settings file and extract a list of our presets that have been configured in the GUI. Otherwise, Handbrake only knows about the built-in presets. Now we'll add -Z space, and in quotations, we'll specify the name of our custom preset that we want to use, making sure we type it exactly with case sensitivity. Then we'll add -i to specify our input file, and our %1 is perfect now, because it's a placeholder for this exact thing. Skip to the end of the program path command now, and we'll add -o to specify the output file. This part's a bit tricky. You could give an output file of output.mp4, and you'd be perfectly fine. You'd right-click your video, select your context menu item, and right there in the same directory, a file named output.mp4 would show up. And this is fine if you intend to rename it right away after it's finished processing. But if you forget and you right-click a second file and transcode it the same way, then your output.mp4 file is going to be overwritten with another one. So I think it's best to keep the file name unique. For that approach, I've just appended information to the existing file name. That way, the processed file shows up in alphabetical order right next to the original. Now, unfortunately, my method makes a janky file name of myvideoname.mp4-constant 24 fps.mp4. So you get this weird .mp4.mp4 file name. I'm certain there's a way to circumvent this, and I know it could be done by doing this through a batch file and trimming out that .mp4 extension before you add another one, but I just don't really care that much about my file name. As long as I can tell what it is, and which one is original and which one is processed, then I'm happy. I like to give it an icon now, which you don't have to do, but it helps me quickly visually identify it in the context menu. I use this little arrow because it's clean and simple. Hit next, and now you've got your updated context menu previewed to you. You can repeat this process to add transcoding shortcuts for 25 frames per second, 30 frames per second, or any other functionality that's important to you to easily access from Windows Explorer and apply to files. Make sure you hit Save Context Menu, and then you're set. Maybe send a buck over to these guys. It's a heck of a lot easier than typing out registry keys. We can close out of that program now and try it out. Find a video file that you want to transcode. It may be in any directory on your computer. Right-click it, and you should see your new menu item. Select it, and you'll get a command window that shows the progress at the bottom. This window will close automatically when it's finished. In the meantime, you can see right next to your original file that you've got this new file. Right now it's 0 bits because it's still being created in memory. I'll let this process finish and then we can test our results. Okay, let's open up our original video file in Media Info, which is another free program that's very useful in case you don't have it installed already. Then we'll scroll through the tree view here until we see the frame rate mode, which is variable for our original file, and in the 23-ish frames per second region for this example. Now we'll show the media info for our new file, and drag them side by side for comparison. Notice on the new file that our frame rate is constant and exactly 24 frames per second. Handbrake did a great job, and you've now got a super quick and easy way to get your incoming videos ready for editing as soon as you copy and paste them onto your computer. Hope this helped some people. Like I said, it was oddly hard to find a way to transcode quickly through the context menu, which seems weird since, as I understand it, it's a pretty crucial step in the editing process that I personally don't want to open Handbrake for every single time. Maybe I'm just lazier than most. That's entirely possible. Regardless, happy editing.